Okay, so this is my second ever Zoia patch that I'm sharing on past patch storage in the Zoia subreddit and whatnot. My first one was Mike Dean in a box, which was a kind of an octave fuzz, octave up and down type fuzz to do Mike Dean style guitar solo sounds. I'll put that link in the description, but this one I'm really excited about. I'm calling it Baths, and it is based off of a pedal from a company called Holy Island Audio. They make a reverb and drive pedal called the Tides, and they recently announced a Tides version 2, and it sold out. Pre-orders sold out like immediately. It's super cool pedal, and they're a super cool company, so this is my urging people to go check them out, and if they come back on sale and you like the sound, you like the vibe, definitely go for it. Also, if you hear like background noise, that's my cat. She loves being loud. So anyways, the Tides version 2 pre-orders sold out immediately, but they posted a really in-depth video and an in-depth written description of the pedal. So I made an attempt at making a copy, and it was a really cool experience. I learned a lot about order switching and patching. So basically, I'll walk through what my patch looks like and how it emulates the Tides version 2 and any like significant differences between the two, and then I'll just kind of play around a bit. And we'll hear the sounds. It's definitely like a shoegazer's pedal. It's reverb and drive. And the thesis of their pedal is, you know, normally the conventional wisdom is drive first, followed by reverb at the end of your signal chain. And their whole thing is no, flip that, have a reverb, and then have drive and fuzz affecting the reverb tails, which is a really cool sound, and it gets kind of messy, dirty reverb is I think how they are describing it. So yeah, this is the patch. So the first page is a controls page, where these are all, you know, things that you can manipulate to manipulate your sound. I put them right on the front so you're ready to go, and it kind of mimics the layout of the Tides version 2, so I'll talk about that in a second. This is a real simple in and out page, kind of like it's an in, an audio channel switcher, a VCA just for some volume control, and audio out with a gain control at the end. Super simple. I always start patches like this just to kind of get my bearings, and then you can go and check signal flow if anything's going wrong. This is the reverb page. So I have just a plate reverb. I chose plate reverb because I was reading in the Zoia tips and tricks manual that plate reverb is really good for self-oscillation, which is something that the Tides pedal does, and I can talk about how I sort of mimic or kind of copy that using this here, which is a slew limiter, which I learned what that was, which is really exciting. And so this is the reverb page. These are my gains pages, and so we have an overdrive with a tone row, followed by, again, an audio channel out. It's a 2-channel out. I used a lot of those. I can talk about the kind of routing. It's just a utility thing into another audio channel out, 2-channel out into a fuzz. The very last one here is a fuzz. I use this audio channel out just to get a stomp switch to activate the fuzz. And then finally, there's a low pass filter and a compressor. And so one of the features on the front page of the front page of my patch and the front of the pedal itself, the Tides, is they call it a voicing toggle, and it basically engages a low pass filter. And the video description says saturation. I kind of took that to mean compression, and so it engages a low pass filter followed by a compressor to get a really bassy sound, so you can get huge, you know, wall of sound, low fuzz kind of thing. Okay, so yeah, the controls page. I tried to color code everything. So like, as you can see, like for example, gains, the overdrive, all this is red. And so anything red on the controls panel is controlling the overdrive. So the top row here, we have 2 gain controls and 2 tone controls. The Tides itself has 1 gain control and 1 tone control. And this is where maybe my own ignorance could have been helpful. I did not know, I was putting knobs here to affect the gain, and I didn't know if affecting input gain or output gain was better. So I elected to have both. So this first one's the input gain that you can move, and this is the output gain that you can move. Yeah, I guess I should make some sounds, right? So this gets the input gain gets real crazy quick. The output gain guess the output gain kind of does too. So you have both options there, and if anyone knows if there's like a best practice of which one to use, let me know. I'd be happy to just use one, but having two is kind of cool. And then I also did the same with tone. This is because I have a small sound, big sound mini overdrive pedal, and I love having a separate bass and treble tone knob on an overdrive. And so I put that here. I put a bass tone and a treble tone that are affecting that tone row, tone module, whatever you call it, of the drive. So yeah, so that's like all the top row of the controls page is all red, color-coded to drive. We're affecting gain and tone. And then you'll notice one other red button here. And so I should talk about that. So on the Tides version 2, this is a new thing to the version. The original signal flow of the Tides pedal is reverb into drive into an optional secondary gain stage of a fuzz. So reverb, drive, fuzz. What they added was an order toggle switch on the new one, and that actually flips the order of the drive first. So normal default mode is reverb, drive, fuzz. The order toggle now goes drive, reverb, fuzz. And so that was a really interesting thing. I actually had to post on the subreddit because I could not figure out how to do it, but I got some super great help from the users there. This will flip it. And so this changes some of the kind of more in-depth audio channel outs to flip it so the drive comes before the reverb. So this is reverb before drive, the default setting. You know, pretty big and pretty messy. I think what this does is kind of adds a little clarity. Let's see. Sorry for sloppy playing there, but yeah, it just changes the tone a little bit, but it's kind of cool. You get two different tonal varieties and it's one easy toggle switch. Okay, so now I'll talk about the next row. The next row is just literally two things. This is just, they call it moisture on the original pedal, which I find kind of funny. It's just a wet dry. This is controlling the wet dry mix of the reverb. Which one is it? The mix here, set very high. Yeah, that's why it's so washed out, which is a cool sound. But we can go low. I set it, I think at the lowest rate of this is set to 20% mix because in one of the videos they talked about there's always a little bit of reverb coming out. And I mean, that's the point. It's supposed to be reverb. So you wouldn't want a completely dry, just drive pedal. I mean, you could, and you could make that change, but you would lose a lot of what makes this patch and this pedal special. That's a little, yeah, you can hear that's less washed out than what I was previously playing. So that's the moisture or wet, wet dry mix there. Blue is reverb. So here we have a few more blues here. So again, this is a swell. Okay, yeah. So now I'm remembering. So one of the cool features of the pedal is a momentary foot switch, stomp switch that engages self-oscillating reverb. And I am kind of doing that. It might not technically fit the definition of self-oscillation, but basically what I'm doing is this middle foot switch, and I guess I should do that mode. The middle foot switch, it engages a slew limiter. So I'll kind of, let me get this straight. The middle foot switch engages a slew limiter here. And the slew limiter is affecting the decay time. You can see, it's really, really quick. So what a slew limiter does is you set a rate here, slew rate, and that is how, the rate of time at which the parameter will increase. In this case, increase, and I think that's the case, but maybe there'd be a way to invert it and do a decrease, but this is increasing the decay rate. That's how you get infinite reverb, is that we're slowly increasing the decay rate. So like I showed you, decay time, once I hit this, it goes really fast to infinite, and infinite is essentially self-oscillation sound. Again, I don't know if it's technically self-oscillation, but it's pretty much the same-ish sound. What I have here is a swell number. And so this knob, I think, would work opposite how it would work on the Tides pedal. So the Tides pedal, from the description I read, I don't own one, so I'm not 100% sure, but the Tides pedal says as you increase the swell knob, it increases the intensity of the swell. And so I took that to mean or I kind of translated that or interpreted it my own way to mean, okay, intensity of the swell should be maybe how fast it comes on. So it feels very strong, like as soon as I hit the switch, it's right in your face, or is it a real gradual thing that I can kind of enable and disable and like have, you know, maybe some motion versus like right in your face swell. The thing is, my knob, I think, works opposite. So right now it's a very low value, meaning corresponding to a very low rate. It's good, kind of, a low rate means a fast onset. If I were to increase this some, we should see, yeah, a much longer onset. And so when you look at the decay, where are we at? Decay time, that number is going to go up much slower. Let's hear it. I mean, I'm talking about it, might as well play. So let's see. You know, there's our. And it's kind of just in the air there. Actually, I have horrible shielding. I'm playing a jazz master with horrible shielding, so if it's engaged on a single coil, the buzz is outrageous. Fun little fact. So yeah, that is the swell feature. That's the self-oscillation feature. So again, you can control the rate of the swell. The higher this number, the longer, yeah, the higher this number, the longer the onset, the slower and maybe less intense the swell would feel. So yeah, just keep that in mind. This, you know, I'll skip the two white ones because that is affecting something else. I put them in that row because that's sort of how the knobs were in a row on the Tides version 2. I'll get to these two. Again, it's just tone. So this is just reverb tone. I'm doing verb bass and verb treble, kind of emulating this, which was drive bass and drive treble, and maybe I'll change those names so it's drive, just so it's ultra clear. But yeah, verb bass, verb treble, you can change the tone or the color of your reverb. I talked about the foot switch, so that was the other blue. That's just, I like having visual indicators when something's active on here. I will talk, yeah, I guess I might as well talk about the white. So white is the color I use for like utility, like audio ins and outs are white. The VCA that I had mentioned earlier is white, and that's actually what this is affecting. So this is just essentially a volume knob. A volume knob that, you know, as I gosh, I hope it's working. Well, anyways, it would control this. Oh, I know why. Yeah, this might be a ignorant Zoia thing too. I did -1 to 1. So anything after 1 is actually like not making any change in the VCA. That's probably, I should probably learn a thing or two, but, so at 1, it's at 0 decibel unity, and then it just goes down from there. So it's like, I guess it's a volume down pedal, or volume down knob, not volume up knob. Again, I could probably learn a thing or two, but it works. And the thing that I had read on the Tides page is that the volume goes into the fuzz module. So I actually have that happening here where this VCA is going into the fuzz. And I think the point of why they have theirs set up that way is like, you know, you're playing a fuzz pedal and you roll back your volume knob, you give it a little less signal and it kind of cleans up. I think that's kind of their point. It's like you could control how much signal you're giving the fuzz and clean it up or not, if you want. And I'm talking about fuzz, so I might as well show the fuzz. So this is a foot switch, a stomp switch activated fuzz. This orange light, orange is fuzz. This orange light will go on and it'll get pretty big. So that's, you know, no fuzz, ready? Emulating that, what I was talking about, you know, how you could roll back the volume and clean up your fuzz. It's a funny word, or a funny phrase, clean up your fuzz. So yeah, this controls the fuzz. on, off, and it's just, I mean, you heard it, it's huge, and I love that. I want it to be huge. Yeah, so I've talked about every knob, including this. This was the order toggle that changes the position of the drive and the reverb. This was the swell, this was the stomp switch. The thing I'm missing, the thing I haven't talked about, is the last thing in the chain, and it's a low pass filter. So the Tides version 2 has a toggle on it that is called voicing. Oh yeah, and I talked about this earlier, but basically that triggers a low pass filter with some compression. And so with that on, well, here, I'll play with that. Without it on, and here we just have reverb and drive, you know, with this on, you know, real low, cuts almost all the high. You could modify that if you'd like. I probably still will too. I'll play around with it. This is just going up as a work in progress, but yeah, see what you could do could be kind of cool is like turn that on, turn the fuzz on. Just like a real low. I might do something with the compression to make that even more, but regardless, low, big, woolly sound, you know? Yeah, super fun, you know, pedal to emulate. I'm happy, really happy with how this turned out, and I learned a lot throughout, and I feel like that's what matters the most. It's obviously not a Tides, it's a Baths, it's a small Tides, but it's something, and if you couldn't get your hands on one, I think a lot of people couldn't, you can have like a cheap copy and see if you like it, and then if you love it, try to track down the real one, because they're a great company and I think they're worth supporting. And you know, there's small batch, so it can be tough to find. But yeah, I will just play a little bit of some shoegaze. Let's see. Yeah, that's a little. Let's see. My neighbors probably hate me, but maybe you will love me for making this patch. I'm going to put it on patch storage. Probably going to keep the title bats. I might change some of the names of the knobs, like I mentioned, drive tone or whatever. But yeah, I'll put a link in the description before I post this video, so it'll be up. And if anyone has any like tips, advice for where this patch should go, you know, if you have an opinion on input or output gain, which you should modify, if you have some idea about the swell, how if I could invert it so the swell knob works more like the original knob, that'd be great, but otherwise it's just something to remember. The VCA thing, how after 1 it doesn't go past 0. Again, it's probably just some like Zoia noob stuff I'm figuring out, but I love the way this turned out and I'm having a lot of fun, and I hope you will too. And until next time, thanks y'all.